All right, so last week, because I'm in Busan, we watched Train to Busan, pretty decent film. And there is a sequel to Train to Busan that it's like, hey, we might as well check that out too, see how that goes. But because those are kind of bigger projects, a lot of times we just watch a little TV show, whereas watching a whole movie, it's a lot longer, it takes a while. So we will do Train to Busan 2, that'll be like next week's episode. But in between, I thought we could do a little teeny tiny show. I found a little 9-minute cartoon that we can do a teeny little episode about. So the story here is, I've had you watch a few various little cartoons based on places that I had been in Japan mainly. So there was like the shrine at the end of Your Name, but we had to watch the entire movie of Your Name just for those people to meet on the stairs at the very end, just a tiny little thing. And then we watched that cartoon that took place in Yokohama, but it was Yokohama in the 60s. That was a little weird too. Didn't necessarily relate that much to, me visiting Yokohama. But I found this little tiny cartoon about a specific mountain that I climbed in Japan. And I thought, like, just as a little weird in between bigger projects, a little teeny wee week, this is just kind of neat because I can show you a specific place that I went, again through the medium of cartoons.
All right, sounds interesting.
So what this is obviously we watched a fair amount of Yuru Camp, where Yuru Camp is, this it's this genre that doesn't really exist outside of Japan, where it's just these kind of slice of life kind of shows that you just watch to kind of chill out and relax. But one of the things that a lot of these shows do is they often have all female characters, but they're written by men. So it's this weird idea of just what men either think teenage girls are like, or they just want them to be this way because it's, I don't know, calming or something. But the cutie pie thing, like with Eurocamp, all the camping stuff is really interesting, and the chick with the bicycle, she's pretty cool. But then the more characters they piled on, it is like these weird, just cute girls acting cute. That part, I think it's fair to say, is not our favorite part of that show.
Yeah, I agree.
So this show is similar. I'm not sure when in the timeline this came out. I think it's approximately the same time, but this might actually be a little before Eurocamp. But I never really watched this one because this kind of amps up the cutie pie side. Like, it's way more about that than it is about the actual topic. Because the topic is about mountain climbing in Japan, which sounds cool to me. It's called Encouragement of the Climb. But again, it's just like these teenagers in like junior high school and their camping club. And the show is like, this one in particular does seem a lot more invested in, yay, we're just friends and we're having fun, way more so than the actual hiking parts. So I never really watched this one because, it's a little bit cloying. But I was looking through the episode list because I'm just like, now that I hiked up a crap ton of mountains while I was in Japan. I was like, I wonder if I'll recognize any of these. And amazingly, there actually is one. But that's the weird thing, is it's this mountain called Mount Takao that's really famous in Tokyo because it's so easy to get to. There's a train line that goes straight to it. But the downside to that, it was actually one of my least favorite mountains to hike up because it's a total tourist trap. Hundreds and hundreds of people were on this mountain the day that I went. I think I went on a Friday, which was a mistake. I should have gone on like a Tuesday. But it's so weird because you never see a lot of people hiking in Japan. It's always like, because there's mountains everywhere and you just meet a few other hikers and it's very chill. This one surprised me because it's like just covered in souvenir stands and places to buy ice cream and all this stuff. So it actually wasn't my favorite mountain. But the good thing about a mountain that famous, that is such a tourist trap, is it makes it into an anime. They would never bother doing an episode about the other mountains I was on because they're just nondescript mountains, where this mountain is pretty famous. So the other thing is, for whatever reason, the first season of this show are these little teeny micro episodes. I don't know where these even aired. Each episode is only 3 minutes long. So I took the 3 episodes where they hike up Mount Takao, and I put them all together, and it's still only going to take us like less than 10 minutes to watch these. But it's just kind of neat because I really do recognize it. It's like, yeah, what little they do show of the mountain is very accurate. So it's just kind of neat that it's like, hey, I was there. I can show you. I was in this anime. I went to that place. So I just thought as a little like amuse-bouche, as a little weird appetizer thing, we could watch this.
All right, well, let's check it out.
So I guess all I need to tell you to set this up is there's all these different routes up the mountain, and they do the exact opposite of what I did, but they still end up going on the same routes as I did. So they go up Route 1, which is the most touristy one, and down Route 6, which is the most rugged one or whatever, where I went up 6 because I had heard that it would be less busy because it's so much tougher. But it wasn't. It was still super crowded. And then I came back down Route 1 where all the ice cream machines and stuff are. So yeah, let's just fire this up. This is, what was it for anyone who wants to watch? I don't know. It's like episode 7, 8, and 9 or whatever. But again, like I said, the whole first season, 3-minute episodes. You can just watch the whole thing, really. It's not not too big of a commitment. And this was from 2013, I think. And a new season just came out this year. And by this year, it's a proper anime with like full-size episodes. But I haven't delved into any of those. So, it does seem like a lot more epic at this point. They're actually climbing up real mountains and they're having to deal with pressure changes in the atmosphere and whatever. But at this point, they've just started the hiking club in the junior high and they've barely gone anywhere. So that's why they're going to Mount Takao, because this is such an easy touristy mountain. But anyway, yeah, let's throw her on.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know that there's a ton to say about that. Pretty lightweight show.
I could see it being popular with a bunch of with young kids.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I almost, I do kind of wish, and again, maybe the later seasons, I watched a bit of the newest season, and like they're going up a 2,000-meter mountain, and it seems pretty harsh, so I mean, maybe it gets more serious, but I kind of wish there was a bit of a more serious hiking show, because that one is just so super lightweight. But that was kind of neat just because, it's very short, so it's easy to digest, but it was just so cool to see that mountain, and it's like, the only thing that was inaccurate about it is obviously people in real life don't look like anime characters, but also there should be so many more people. There were literally hundreds of people when I went there. It was annoying how many people there were. But other than that, it was pretty accurate what little bits that they showed. And one thing I thought was cool, just a pointless little story, but have you ever seen when you're walking around that if someone loses a glove or something, somebody will hang it on a tree branch or something in case someone comes back to get it?
Yeah.
But have you ever noticed that no one ever comes back to get those things? Like if you walk by it 5 or 6 times, it's there forever. Like once somebody drops the thing, it's gone. And I figured that was probably the same on Mount Takao, because especially if you don't live nearby, if you accidentally drop your gloves, you'd have to come all the way back and go halfway up the mountain, and this was on Route 6, like the hard route. But that happened to me on that route, where the part where they're walking down like the wooden steps before the trail turns into like a really rugged sort of halfway a river type trail, at that exact point there were some really nice gloves that were just like hanging on the tree for someone to come retrieve them. And I had to kind of decide in that moment, like, are they going to come back or not? Like, if I take these, either I'm stealing someone's gloves if they intended to come back, but if they never come back, then I'm helping because I'm getting these things off of the mountain because they've just been abandoned. And that's what I decided. I'm like, I'm going to assume no one's coming back for these. So I grabbed them, and they're my Mount Takao gloves, and I still use them, and they're really nice. And it's just like, my nice little memory of that mountain. So it's just neat when I was watching that, because they walked right by that exact place. And it's like, wow, that's so cool. Like, that's where I got my gloves.
Yeah, and they probably somebody wouldn't go to all the bother of going back for a pair of gloves unless they were something really special for them.
Yeah, because in my case, I was staying in Hachioji, so it was very close for me. It was easy for me to get to that mountain. But realistically, if you're in Tokyo, they do have an express train to get there, but it still takes a while to get out there. It's like way in western Tokyo. And like those girls, for example, were from Saitama, which is in the north. Like, it's not a short trip. So yeah, I assume nobody was coming back. And it was just neat to see my little pointless, like, because I have so many little pointless things that happen to me in random parts of the world, but you don't often see them in an anime. And the other thing that they really didn't show is that Route 6, again, I wish it was as empty as people said it was. It was super crowded. And it was like borderline scary sometimes because it was really rough and rugged, and you're like walking along the edge of a cliff, but there's people coming both ways, so you have to squeeze aside to let the other people pass. And it's like, man, if we fall down, like, no one's gonna die, but you would be really, really hurt. And that's where I found Mount Takao actually a bit annoying. It's like, why is there so many people here? And then you get to the top, and yeah, they're just selling, like, you know, here's, buy some candy, buy some junk. A bit of a weird experience.
So it's a tourist trap, basically.
Yeah, and just the only time I've ever seen a tourist trap on a mountain, you know, like, because it was 600 meters, it's not a small mountain. I got to see, my view of Fuji wasn't as good, but I got to see the Fuji view. I did all that crap. But it also has that cable car that they mentioned, and I think that's that's part of what makes it bad. But yeah, Route 6 was an actual, for real, hiking trail, and it was still crowded as heck. So, bit of a weird thing that I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, especially since there's so many hundreds of mountains in Japan. You can just throw a dart and pick any mountain and go hike up it, and it won't be filled with people. But the upside, again, is like, hey, I can show you this mountain because it's such a tourist trap. It made it into an anime. So that's kind of cool. That's the upside. And yeah, again, I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess that's all there is to say about that show. It's not going to be an in-depth review, but I just found that last night, and I was like, oh, that'd be a neat little thing to throw in for one quick little week of just, there's the mountain I was on.